I want to talk to my colleague, Kate Garraway, who presents mid-morning presenter on Global Station Smooth Radio, amongst many other things. You will know her, of course, from Good Morning Britain as well, and much else besides. Kate is nominated for an NTA award for her ITV documentary Caring for Derek. And I'm going to give it a plug before we go anywhere, Kate. Voting is open still at nationaltvawards.com until midday tomorrow. So if you wish to go and take a look at that, please do. Kate, thanks for joining me in the studio.
Lovely to be here.
Well, the reason I invited you in is I saw a little piece you did on Instagram the other day, talking about the experience of caring for a loved one when either, in your case, something very unexpected and incredibly difficult happens, or because of an ongoing disability, or because of an aging parent, or whatever it happens to be. That we really don't talk enough about the pressures that carers are under, do we? And there are millions and millions of carers.
Exactly, Sheila. And actually, you said on Instagram, I was quite conflicted about posting anything about the documentary. Not that I'm not very proud of it and the team that, made it with me. But you feel a little bit like you're asking people to vote for something, apart from the fact there are brilliant other documentaries in the category. You're asking people to vote for something that is sort of a source of sadness as well. It's like, and you don't want people to be voting for that reason. But on the other hand, actually, what happened was when the documentary went out, I had an incredible response from people saying people don't shine a light enough on carers. And then again, when they announced the nomination, they said, oh, gosh, it's all gone quiet. So I thought, I'm going to do it for the people that are living this, who have it much tougher than me in lots and lots of ways. And I think the thing about caring is that it is the thing that we're all going to either need or care for. I listened to your show a lot, and I know that you've been through it with your mum, who's sadly passed away. But people don't think about the need for it until they're either in it and need themselves, or they're doing it for someone they love. And if you're lucky, then it's a temporary thing and you get better and you get back on with your life.
Great.
And if not, it goes on and on. And I think it's a mix, especially, I'm sure you've been through this as well, Sheila, where there were so many nights in hospital when I prayed to have the chance to care for Derek, because I thought he
that
was
means him coming
live
home.
or die.
Yeah.
And then he comes home and there's a whole different set of experiences you go through. I think the physicality of it, people don't talk about very much. It is physically very tiring, particularly if people have mobility issues.
Because you're leaning and lugging.
You're leaning and stretching and moving them and you can learn about the best way to protect your back. But and then there's the emotional pressure, because you are a little bit like, I think the only thing I could equate it to is like when you first bring the baby home from the hospital and you find you're sitting yourself looking.
I've got to keep this thing alive.
I've got to keep this thing alive. It's all down to me. And of course you're in a constant whirlwind of, fear and all of that. And it is very, very challenging. I mean, again, you saw the Instagram post, but a charity called Carers First got in touch with me and said, we've just done some research this autumn. We're facing an economic crisis that everybody is facing. And people are coming to us. They had some stats. I think more than 90% of people were just not sleeping because they were so scared. People were feeling suicidal. People were feeling like their mental health was tried. And along with that genuine fear, which a lot of us have about money worries, there is a sort of a guilt, because you don't want to be feeling like anyone's a burden. Yeah. And you're very, very alone. But that's the other thing. You feel very alone.
Whether you are or you're not. It is a lonely process.
You could have a house full of medics and whatever, but it's an isolating feeling.
And also, as you said, either temporarily or permanently, it transforms your life. It transforms it every bit as much as a baby arriving in your life.
It does. It absolutely does. And because you're having to think about everything you do, aren't you? And you're that feeling that you can't just a lovely sort of internet online group popped in and said, we're organising coffees for people to talk. And I thought, how wonderful that actually that is there. However, I don't know how a carer could get there because unless most carers can't really leave the person alone unless they've got someone else. And of course, we know that the support is frighteningly small.
And if you, what's also really difficult, I think, for carers is, I know when I was doing a lot of caring for Mum, if I would visit a friend nearby for an afternoon, say, because I have lots of siblings and they were caring as well, it wasn't just me, if they'd say, how are things? And I'd often say, don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I really genuinely wanted to talk about that nice new top you bought, or how you bake this cake, or what this flower is in your garden. I really didn't want to talk about it because you needed your brain to be somewhere else.
Yeah, and we're lucky because we both have very supportive employers, don't we, Sheila? And we both have jobs where we can, combine it to a certain extent with coming and going. But a lot of people financially have to give up their work because there isn't that flexibility option. So they're literally in the house caring for somebody. Or there's two things, I think, with friends and family. On the one hand, you want to break from it. But on the other hand, you sometimes want to talk about it. But you're very aware that you said the same things before. And you don't want to be this ghastly, boring person who's talking about the same things,
I also think, whether you're still aware of it or not, Kate, I mean, people are incredibly connected to your story. They really are. And because we were all in COVID at the same time, but some of us were hit harder by it than others, clearly. You've got Derek home. You got what you called your happy ending at that point for him to come home. And you said it yourself. I've experienced it in a long conversation I had with him at a wedding we both went to.
Yes.
A great conversationalist.
Yeah.
A great talker.
Yeah.
And how is that now? Can he communicate better?
It's very, very patchy. So I don't know if it's just because I microscopically look at him in the way that in the way that you say, again, talking about a baby, not that he's a baby. He's definitely smiling, and everybody else goes, oh right, it looks like wind to me. I don't know whether it's just that or whether it's. But there are definitely patches where he can say more. And what he does say is sort of never wrong. He would love me saying this, by the way, because he never suddenly says bananas when he means, cold. But it's just that it's not the same chat that it was. Yeah. He is actually back in hospital at the moment, Sheila. Yeah, he had to sort of an emergency blues and twos readmission, which we're hoping we're on the right side of. Yeah. So we're sort of again in the new process of seeing how the next fight to bring him home works.
Yeah.
But
and it seems to me as well, both from watching your documentaries and also just talking to a lot of people who care on my programme as well.
Yeah.
We have, given the political backdrop to it and the funding backdrop to it and the pressures that people are under financially and everything, I think we have to make caring, it seems to me, more than just politics and more than just funding. We have to make it more of a community thing as well. So, for example, it's just every year now since I lost my mum. And for a year, I couldn't even think about offering my time and my care to an elderly person, for example. I just needed to get over that shock.
You need to grieve and have that healing.
But I'm doing that now for the winter to make a local elderly charity, just to make sure, because I feel I can do it now. So I've got some time to give. I've got and I understand that process. So I'm going to do it. But I think we all, because the funding isn't going to be magicked up for you, for me, for anybody. We all need to look at where we live, who we know, and what we can give to support people, I think. And I think people want to do it. There are just lots of barriers there for people to do it. And I think the reason I wanted to invite you on to talk about your own experience and your programme and everything is there are a million different ways to be a carer.
There are, and I think you're absolutely right. There's no doubt that the whole system needs more funding, but it's not really political, certainly not party political, because successive governments have
made
found
the same
it hard
failure.
to try to crack the challenge of it. And, now is not a time when there's loads of money in the bank. And I think you're right. It does have to be all of us. And maybe also... there's so many movies, isn't there, where people haul somebody from a burning building or give them the kiss of life. And that is seen as glamorous.
Heroic.
And it is heroic.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But we somehow have to see that caring, that sort of delicate caring and that time, it's almost like we have to, in our minds, see that is something just as heroic and precious.
That's a really good point, yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I thought, well, it would be lovely if a documentary about caring won an award, because I think ITV was even quite brave to put it on at prime time, because it's not traditionally something that makes people think, God, I can't wait to watch that.
But I think a big part of that is that people
are fearful,
They're fearful, but they're also connected to your story, Kate. It's about you telling it. and you talking about the issue as well.
Yeah.
Because I honestly think that the only way we do, this has been my experience, the reason I became passionate about the issue of caring is because I became a carer for my mother.
Yes.
I could talk about it politically before then, but I talk about it
in your gut.
Yeah, I talk about it very differently now.
Yeah.
I think and feel about it very differently as well. And I think that's what you've achieved in all of your conversations.
I mean, so many people are right now probably listening to you, as I'm sure they do in their millions, thinking, gosh,
Hundreds of
I'm a
millions.
carer and I haven't got a voice. So
Yeah.
I think it's lovely when people like you and I can hopefully give a voice to that.
I think yours is a very important voice. And my own listeners kindly said that they felt mine was for them, so that's good. But I was delighted. So listen, let's get your nationaltvAwards.com. We want to see Kate win that
award. You don't
award.
have to vote for it. There's lots
You
of good
do have
ones
to
on
vote
there.
for it.
But it'd be lovely if you take a look.
No, people do. It's compulsory. They do have to vote for it because whilst it's a vote for your programme, it is a vote for, as you've said yourself, it's a vote for a really important issue as well. So fingers crossed for you. Thank you for coming in. I know you have to dash. Thanks very much, Kate.
You.
Great to have you in the studio.